Joy. Once the Master said, "Today people have sorrow. When the divine comes, joy will come." The meaning of your life and your true happiness depends upon the fundamental understanding of love. Where there is love, there is also life. And where there is life, there is also joy. In a home where love abides, all are joyful. Those who do not perceive love, wisdom, and truth will weep. It was said, "For I will turn their mourning into joy." The footnote here reads, see Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 13. Love that does not bring joy and light is not true love. Hell is the place where love is missing. Where there is no love, wisdom, and truth, there hell is. Where there is love, wisdom, and truth, there heaven is. How could a home be not sorrowful if there is no love in it? When love comes, you will say, "All the suffering which may have come, I will bear with joy." The footnote here reads, Colossians 1, verse 24, "I now rejoice in my sufferings for you, and fill up in my flesh what is lacking in the afflictions of Christ, for the sake of his body, which is the church." End of footnote. When you have love, you are happy and have energy for work. When you lose love, you fall into despair. When the mother loses her child, when the brother loses his sister, when someone loses his friend, they fall into despair. When love enters the human heart, the world takes on a different appearance. You will find everything pleasant, and you will work with joy. When you love, the world opens up for you, and you see it as beautiful, as you have never seen it before. If you do not love, the world is dark and incomprehensible to you. Acquaintance. The Master said, "People are sent into the world to become acquainted with one another." How many people do you know at present? Can you say that you know a certain person? You say today that you know him. Tomorrow you will see that you do not know him. Today you say that someone is gifted. The next day you are doubtful about his gift. This means not knowing. With the physical eyes, one sees only the shadow of things. Without love, there is no knowing. There is no seeing. Without love, life has no meaning. Knowing comes from love alone. Only if you love can you come to know. God knows us in accordance with the law of love. Do not think that he knows us only mechanically. Which people do you know? Those who have done a good deed for you, who have helped you. When you do not like someone, you do not know him. Come to love someone rightly, and you will see that within his soul, mind, and heart, something great is hidden. If you do not, then today you will be enchanted by someone and disappointed by him the next day. If you love someone, you will see within him many things, and the most wonderful ones. The external, physical appearance of a person is not yet the true human being. Deep within the human being is hidden something very beautiful which can become known only by the one who loves. You will never be able to come to know a person as long as you see only his physical appearance. This explains why you do not like someone when others like him. You see only his appearance, whereas others know him from within. They see the divine within. You say, "I find nothing special in this person." Why? Because you do not love him. Ask the one who loves that person what he sees in him. The Path of Attainment. The Master said, "Enter a room and make a small experiment. Close the window, close the shutters, and remain in the dark. After that, open the window and close it again. Observe what the conditions are in the darkness as to what they are in the light. When the windows are open, this corresponds to the life with love, and when they are closed, to that without love. Without love, things lose their power and significance. The angels who rejected love lost a great deal of what they had and felt. At first they were powerful, but after that, an angel appeared who bound them in chains and set them in the abyss, and so they lost their power. I call the temptation of things the slippery slope. You slide down because you have nothing to hold on to. When someone loves, he needs to know that he will find himself in bondage to the most intelligent and sublime beings. They watch and observe as to how he expresses his love. To love means to perform a sacred act, not in the face of one's peers, but in the face of the sublime world. God's blessing depends upon how you perform this act. God extends his hand to those who rightly express their love. Love gives structure to man's spiritual body. Even matter is transformed through love. With love, the human energies take on a different direction and begin to build the spiritual body in which the human being of the future will dwell. Through love, those creative powers which build are called into action. For this reason, all good and saintly people experience such high vibrational states that ordinary people cannot imagine. They pass through great inner suffering in order that they may prepare for these vibrations. Seemingly, love is the least of all powers, but in reality, it is the greatest power in the world. Love is the lever of all things. Money and power serve love. We are now coming to the end of the world of human laws and of money, and are entering into the realm of love. Love is nourishment for the soul. It is essential food by which people live. What is love? It is that which continuously imparts life to your souls. If I should give someone money or do some small favor for him, if I invite him into my home, is this proof of my love for him? No. Today, you might give someone money. You might make him well received in your home. You might make great sacrifices for him. But tomorrow, you do not wish to hear about him. And yet, in divine love, there is something great which is constantly building. It provides the necessary conditions for the development of the soul. The light and warmth of the sun give to the plant the impulse to grow. In this same way, love makes for the growth of the human soul. When the good conditions come, the flowers will come into being. This is not just because they have been planted. They had been planted already. Simply stated, love provides the conditions for our abilities to manifest. Love conquers death. People die because divine love has not yet been instilled in them. The one who abides in the law of love attains life day by day. A law states, "For the one who does not love, the divine life force will not pass through him, and as a result, he will wither and lose his life." To love someone signifies that he will grow and flourish from your love. You too will grow and flourish. Someone asks, "Why do I need to love?" So that you may grow and manifest yourself, so that your consciousness may awaken, so that you may understand why you have come into this world. Divine love has nothing in common with ordinary human emotions and dispositions. It can be recognized by the following attributes. When love touches the slow-witted man, it makes him intelligent and wise. When it touches the dead, he rises to life again. When touching the leper, he is healed. When touching the discouraged, all discouragement disappears. All the knowledge of humankind which has been accumulated from 8,000 years until now cannot be compared to the least manifestation of divine love. Therefore, so much more is there for you to learn. In this love, there is no despair, no disease, no darkness, and all conflict disappears. It settles all disputes and misunderstandings. If this should not happen thus for you, do not say that you abide in love. In the law of love, there is no contradiction. If you begin to do something with love, it will surely be successful. The world may turn upside down, but this work will be accomplished well. To the one who ails, I say, accept love. Think not about disease. Love is the power which can heal you. Love heals all disease. It increases the vibrations of the human organism and makes it capable of withstanding external influences as well as those of microbes. When a person becomes demagnetized, he loses his life force and easily becomes ill. With every demagnetization, a fissure within the etheric double occurs, from which a great amount of vital energy begins to leak. Once this fissure is sealed, the person becomes healthy again. From love, energy emanates which serves as a plaster which seals even the smallest of cracks in the nervous system. A friend came by one day and asked me, "What can I do about my ailing sister? How can I cure her?" I said to him, "If your sister would apply divine love, she will be healed." When you work with love in healing a disease, you will notice certain improvements at the beginning, which will be followed by a relapse. Then a greater improvement will come, this time followed by a smaller relapse. In this way, the conditions will alternate until a complete recovery takes place. If someone is neurasthenic, this is an indication that he has little love. If he has pain in his stomach, chest, or has a headache, he has little love. The one who has weak health, let him love. Make some experiments in this field in order to see for yourself the truth of this law. If you are suffering from rheumatism or have a fever or any other disease, manifest divine love, and your health will improve in a short time. The sooner that you are healed, the more rightly you have manifested love. If an ailing person even touches one who is visited by divine power, he will be healed. Death is an indication that people have not yet resolved life's issues. They have not yet found the right answers. Someone says that he does not want to live, but you have not lived yet. Until now you have suffered. From now on, you will begin to live. The music of nature. In nature, days filled with music exist. On such days, you need to listen attentively. Even in the noises of the distant life, there is music. To sing or to play music on such days comes as naturally as breathing. Whenever we would gather around the Master, we would always sing his songs. It was a natural expression of the universal life. Even so, on special days such as these, when we attuned to certain scales of nature, the songs sounded as new. The harmonies came naturally, and the melodies were infused with a special meaning, a fullness, and an intensity. On a day such as this, we were gathered around our beloved Master. A question regarding the music of nature was raised. The Master said, "There exist sentient beings who sing as a chorus in the forest as they roam. There is a harmony within their music. This singing cannot be perceived with physical ears. It is an etheric singing. And yet, this singing is real. The wind, the storm are musical, but the human ear does not possess the musical sensibility for perceiving this music. Which is the most sublime of concerts? The sunrise. In the storm, the thunder, the falling of the raindrops, I hear music. It is a great concert. We will make an experiment with the sunlight. Let it speak to you. Music is hidden within. No harmony of tones more sublime exists than what emanates from the vibrations of the rays of the sun. Each rustling of the leaves on a tree is a tone which is noise to the undeveloped ear. You go to concerts and listen to the music of Schumann, Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, and yet, if the ear were more developed, in modern people, we would prefer to listen to the music of the rustling leaves rather than that of the greatest musicians. Make contact with this other world of music. Have you heard the music of the flowers when they bloom, or the chorus of the ripening fruit trees? Have you listened to the music of the running waters? Have you heard the song of the summer breeze which caresses the trees? You will say that all this is an illusion. No, and yet one needs the ear in order to be able to hear these songs and merge with them. Everything in nature is alive. In everything created by God, great meaning exists. Music and song exist in all things. Every living thing produces sound. Imagine that the whole of nature is one great orchestra. The cuckoo is the drummer. 1, 2, 3 beats and stops. Each animal in the orchestra emits its own sound. What a majestic orchestra the whole of nature is. The organs of the human body, according to the functions that they perform, are also defined as musical tones. For example, the heart represents the tone do, si, the respiratory system, the tone re, D, the liver, the tone mi, E, and the kidney, fa, or F, the spleen, sol, G, the gallbladder, la, A, and the digestive system, T, or C, B. When the human respiratory system functions musically in all scales, we say that it is normally developed. With the least disturbance to the scale, its tone will be changed into another tone. This brings about discord in one of the organs. We call this discord disease. For this reason, that one may not become ill, he needs to protect the integrity and frequency of vibration of his tones. If you understand the key and the tones of your organism, you will be able to transform your states so that you may keep the functioning of your organism in perfect order. From the heart, the energy passes to the liver. This means that from the heart to the liver, there is an open passage, but not from the liver to the heart. Understanding this, you should not let any negative feelings enter your heart which might have a detrimental effect on your liver. The one who knows and understands the music of his organism is able to heal any of his organs when he is ill. If any problem should exist in his respiratory system, he will sing or play music in which the tone re, D, repeats often. The gallbladder is treated with the tone la, A. Each member of the human body can be compared to a musical instrument, and the body as a whole to an enormous orchestra, not one of only 50 or 60 players, but of thousands of instruments and thousands of beings who sing and play as a person conducts. You are great conductors of music. Man has billions of servants. These are the cells of his body. All organs of the human body emanate tones, radio waves, which are musical. The angels are very musical. Today there are musical works written in notes, but there is no written music preserved from the past. Now one must search for it in the archives of angelic music. Can you perceive music which has 300,000 or 500,000 vibrations? This is the angelic music. Iron and gold will melt from such music. This music is able to heal the most incurable of diseases. There is also that music whose vibrations destroy. What did the Jews do with their horns? While blowing them, they circled the walls of Jericho 7 times, and they crumbled. The footnote here reads, see also Joshua chapter 6. If you would make use of such music, in 7 days you could knock down the walls of your impediments and obstacles. You say, my heart is wounded. Sing and play. There is no better method than this. Early in the morning, the advanced beings sing in nature. A sister shared her experience. In 1928, while stopping by the 5th Lake Mahabur, I heard a chorus of sublime beings. The footnote here explains Lake Mahabur. That is the name given by the Master to Lake Brubeca, the Kidney Lake, the 5th of the 7 lakes of the Rila Mountains. Another sister, too, had heard the singing of these beings at the 5th lake. The Master said, it was not that the beings had gathered at the 5th lake, but that the singing had been broadcasted on the radio, and you heard it there. The privilege came about because this place at the 5th lake is sacred, and it is possible to perceive there the chorale singing of these beings, as if from a radio. All of the great musicians have listened to the music of the sublime world, and what they have heard, they have written down. When such a chorus is audible, at the beginning, it will seem that the chorus is coming closer and closer, and then gradually it will seem to move further and further away. A sister said that she was there at Lake Mahabur with a brother, but that he could not hear anything. Another sister spoke about a similar experience which she had at the Inner Bliznak. The footnote here reads, the Inner Bliznak, the southern part of the lake known as the Twins, the 4th of the 7 lakes of the Rila Mountains. I was with a sister at the Inner Bliznak. The weather was perfectly calm, and it was close to sunset. There was no wind. I was standing there in contemplation. At some point, I perceived sounds, as if they were coming from far away, like the sounds of water from waterfalls, which emanate music. I listened closely with attention, and understood that this was not something that I was hearing with my physical ears. I understood that this was a more profound hearing. These sounds grew stronger and spread like a chorus with ascending voices, tenors, basses, sopranos. The sounds were majestic, fading away and then becoming stronger. As they became stronger, one could perceive a glorifying song of praise for God, like Alleluia, a song sung by thousands of voices which merged together, forming a mighty polyphonic voice. This continued for 30 minutes to 1 hour. If I had stayed, Perhaps I could have listened longer, but it became dark and I left. I told the other sister to listen, but she could not perceive this music. On another occasion, on a bright moonlit night, I went purposely to the same place to re-experience the same, and again I heard the music. The Master said, "The angels need to open the music centers in man, that he may hear the songs which are sung, that he may hear the music which is from above." In the future, man will hear the music of the angels. An even greater music exists, the divine music. When you hear this music, you will forget everything, and when you return home, you will say, "All is finished with me. From now on, I will serve God." For the angels, human singing is like that from a gramophone record. Earthly music is brought down from above. It comes in aid for humankind. It comes from the invisible world to help humankind. Some composers and musicians will say that they have created something. In reality, nobody has created anything. One musician said to me, "Tell me about the new music." I answered, "I can tell you nothing about it, because a dispute will arise among you musicians as to who has come up with it." Choral as well as instrumental music is brought down from the sublime world. Music comes from the sanctuary of the temple. It has always been there, but now it is free to come out. Beauty. The wheat in the fields were forming ears. The wheat was lush. The air was filled with a refreshing fragrance as after a storm. Large white clouds traveled across the sky. The sun was shining over God's beautiful world. We made ourselves comfortable around the Master among the beautiful clearings in the fields. In conversation, someone raised the question about beauty. The Master said, "Beauty is created according to internal laws, yet people are searching for it in a superficial way. 3 things create beauty in the features of the face: love for love, that is to say, that connection with nature which forms the human mouth; love for wisdom, which forms the human nose; and love for truth, it forms the forehead, the eyes, and the gaze." In the old life, the forms lacked beauty. Wherever the new life begins, the forms are beautiful, and in the divine life, they come into perfect beauty. Ugliness is a result of negative thoughts, feelings, and desires from which one must rid himself. These are passed on to him by his ancestors. They represent the material which one needs to process. Beauty is a spiritual quality. When someone prays constantly, when he reads spiritual books and is occupied with beautiful works, his face receives particular lines and a special beauty. Beauty is an expression of truth. Only the one who is free can attain true knowledge, the knowledge of nature. Only the one who is free can be beautiful. Beauty is a manifestation of supreme consciousness. It is one with love and gives meaning to life. Beauty is in the symmetry of the face, but also in its elasticity, flexibility, and liveliness. God is the wellspring of beauty. Search for that beauty which bears the image of God within itself. There is something beautiful in nature's forms. An invisible hand is at work, which creates that combination of forms which we observe. The image of God is expressed in nature. Sometimes nature appears more beautiful to us. The sky and the sun appear to be lovelier, more radiant, and more beautiful. There are other times when nature appears gloomy and stern to us. Does this change truly occur in nature? No. When we do not live well, we cast a shadow and perceive the image of God as gloomy. Perfect beauty is man's ideal. In the future, people will be beautiful. Selflessness. This evening, those who had cut the hay returned from the fields to the farmstead. They were sunburned, lively, and joyous. The majority of them were brothers and sisters giving a helping hand to the farmers. It took them several days until the hay could be harvested. After the evening meal, a discussion arose in connection with the new forms of labor. The master said, "Man needs to impart the purest of thoughts to the production of food, clothing, and other goods. If you wish to build a home, hire those people who are not only building specialists, but are also of good character. While doing the work, not one bad word should be spoken, nor should a negative thought be permitted to enter one's mind. Otherwise, toxins will enter the house. Then it will become difficult for you to get rid of the negative influences. In the future, those who prepare the bread should have sublime ideas which they will instill into the bread. If the farmer applies this in his work, his fields will yield more and better fruits. If the wheat is cultivated with joy and love, the bread made of this wheat will be nourishing, and those eating it will be inspired with new ideas. If, in the future, we would like to introduce right education into the world, then in the building of the school, the best people must be called upon, the best builders for the building, the benches, the desks, as well as all the other implements for teaching. In saying the best builders, I do not refer to the best builders in the trade only, but the best people as well. People will say, the chairs, the desks, anybody can make these. Until now they have been made by anybody, and we see what kind of schooling we have. Every work which is performed without love is torment. Discontentment creates bitterness. Today's production is based upon human greed. What can you say about the shoes you are wearing on your feet? They are made from the hide of animals whose life was taken through violence. What kind of thoughts were introduced by the person who stripped the skin from the animals, as well as the one who tanned them? Some have imparted their thoughts of discontentment, of not having been paid well, whereas others, their desires to increase their riches. What can beautiful shiny shoes contribute to your well-being? Only what is instilled in them. The negative thoughts and feelings of those who have produced them. Before too long a time has passed, these shoes will bring you some misfortune. The shoes may be shiny, but they bring misfortune to the one wearing them. Rid yourselves of those shoes and clothing which have been produced out of human discontent. You may say that this is superstition. Do not live in ignorance of what brings misfortune to people. To everything which a person produces, he needs to impart his good thoughts and feelings, his selfless desires. One's misery is caused by the discontent which is instilled in the shoes and the clothing which one wears. What good can a knife contribute when a murderous thought has been instilled in it? Whoever takes this knife into his hand will experience the desire to kill. In a short time, a crime will be committed with this knife. The one who produces knives must impart to them his best thoughts. When you take such a knife into your hand, you must not experience any bad feeling or desire. The knife which is used to commit a crime will be passed through fire, will be made into a plow, a hoe, a hammer. It will pass through suffering. This is the only way that it will be purified and be set free of the criminal thoughts instilled in it. I do not speak with the intention to persuade you, but I present those facts and laws which are merciless. These are the laws of sentient nature. Although you may reject them, they still exert their influence. Torment, labor, and work. With regard to motivational causes, we can distinguish three kinds of activities. The first is torment. This means one is forced to work, and in so doing descends. The second, labor. This means one works for pay, to emerge from the dense matter and ascend. The third, work. This is activity out of choice, out of love. Work. This is the true culture. Labor is a precursor to the new culture. When one labors, he works for remuneration, for his own reward. That is to say, for money. The most sublime activity on earth is the one that comes out of love. An activity exists which stands above the ordinary. This is the activity motivated by love. This is when man sacrifices himself for the benefit of others, because man is able to sacrifice himself, as has Christ. But these are sublime matters, which not everyone can understand in their fullness. The new which is coming into the world is to work out of love. Earlier, I said that with regard to the motivation for activity, we have three kinds: torment, labor, and work. For a clearer understanding, I will present the same idea in the following way. Three motivations for activity exist: the law, money, and love. The first incentive is the law. When you work under the law, there is no freedom. When you work for money, you are more free. When you work out of love, you have complete freedom. Until now, we have served the law and we have served money. How is it that we cannot now serve love? You are drafted and you are told, "You will fight for your homeland. You will do this job." There is no pay, there is nothing. This is by law. The second incentive is that you will work for money. Someone asks you to come to work. You say, "I do not work for free." He offers you 100 leva. You say, "I will not work." He offers 200 leva. Again you say, "I will not work." He gives you 250 leva. You accept and go to work. After the incentives of the law and of money, we come to the third incentive, to work out of love. When you work out of love, you are also being paid, but in a different way. And so, a new order comes now into the world. Love. It is the most powerful of all. People need to make the transition from labor to work. This is the sublime activity. This is the path toward freedom. Here is an example about work. A musician visits a hospital. He plays for the ill, but he does not want a reward. He goes there because of a feeling of compassion. An artist exhibits his paintings in order to uplift the spirits of the ill. He as well seeks no reward. Today we have labor, but not yet work. Work will be the great task of the future generation. The one who is in torment, let him move toward labor. The one who labors, let him move toward work. Even the smallest service, the smallest work, done out of love, attains sublime value. Love must be the first impulse in everything. There is a mythic tale. In ancient times, a king was strolling in his garden, picking a basket full of cherries. A child caught up with him and asked, "Will you sell me some?" The king answered, "I do not sell." "Would you give me some?" "I will give to you." But this child was wise as well. When the king gave him the cherries, the child asked, "May I carry your basket for a while?" They walked together, the child carrying the basket. The king asked him, "May I pay for you?" The child answered, "No." When working for another, one expends divine energy which cannot be paid for, and for this reason, he too should not be paid. Should he be given something, it will be a reward of love, but not a payment. Everything which is done without love is a transgression. Everything which is taken without love is theft. Everything which is done with love is meaningful. Work should be completely lacking in any material intent. We will then be free, independent. The new morality means absolute selflessness. Work in which money plays a role is not divine. Work in which money does not play a role is divine. When you go to work for someone, you should tell him, "I will work for you for free. Finish the work and then leave." Every nation has the need for new ideas, for a new culture, which will transform it, eliminating the prisons and the gallows. Everyone will work without being paid. This will come in the future. For how long will man be tormented? Until he begins to work out of love. I will be the first to go into the field and work 5 hours without any remuneration. Should we all do so, we would become an advanced nation. If all men and women would act like that, what would Bulgaria then become? True work is that in which love participates. People can be strange at times. When they become religious and spiritual, they abandon work, abandon service. No, from now on you should begin to work, and without money at that. True morality implies the following: everything which man does will be dictated by love. Where there is no love, there is crime, deceit, and wickedness. Why is the world not yet a world of harmony? We are now entering into harmony. The new humankind who is coming in the future is an emissary for the new heaven, the new earth, the new order of things. In heaven, the first article of the Constitution states, "You will not work for money." How much do you pay to the river which waters your garden? If the least river can serve without money, why cannot you do the same? One needs to understand this issue in its broadest sense. Do not expect money for your work. Do not expect gratitude or appreciation. This is the same as expecting payment. Instead, you should work expecting nothing. When you are thanked for what you do, you have received your pay. And when you are not thanked, you will receive your blessing in the future. Whatever work you do, physical or spiritual, you should work with goodwill and love. The spiritual student is not permitted to remain idle. In the new order, fruit will not be sold. You will give fruit with love and will receive fruit with love. Every work in which love is the motivation is gratifying. The human order brings adversity, whereas the divine, joy. Why is there adversity in the world? Because human will predominates the divine will. Contradictions originate from the human order, whereas blessings from the divine. People have yet to explore the divine laws. At present, they study those laws which are not divine. When love comes, you will sing and play music well. When love is not present, there is no inspiration. When love is not at work, things are at a standstill. Pass by some place without love one time and observe how the people act toward you. A second time, pass by with love and observe now how they act. The world of beauty is the world of love. The law of love is the law of freedom. Only when you work with love can you be free. Freedom is attainable when you serve God with love. You often serve other beings who have done nothing for you. Why not then serve God, the one who has done everything for you, who has given everything to you? We should all begin to serve out of our own volition. Then, from torment and labor, we will enter into work. Torment and labor are karma, whereas love is dharma. One sister asked, "Which of these two laws are we under?" You are under dharma. When people come to live in the new understanding, they will be paid in advance. When the apple tree gives you its fruits, It is like saying to you, "Eat my fruits and plant my seeds." In the new life, love will be the medium of exchange, not money. When you love someone, you have paid him in advance, and he will do something for you. At present, the medium of exchange is money, and so, the more you are paid, the better and faster you do the work, and vice versa. Every work, as small as it may be, which is done in the name of divine love, wisdom, and truth, attains great value. At present, whatever work people may do, they always expect to be paid something. It is not bad for you to receive something for your work. It is a matter of course. And yet, when I say that you should work for free, I have in mind the following idea. All work should be accomplished in accordance with the law of love, regardless if it is paid for or not. Every work which is done out of love cannot be paid for. A man hired laborers. One laborer wanted 500 leva for a day's work, the second 400 leva, the third 300 leva. The second to last wanted a 10 leva wage. And the last said, "I want no money. You may give me what you wish." In the evening the master gave everyone what he wanted, but he paid the last one twice as much as the one who asked to be paid 500 leva. This spring you are working on several well springs in this yard. People in the world would be surprised that you work without pay and do so diligently and with joy. But the world does not know that those who work out of love receive the greatest pay, the greatest reward. And yet they receive it in a mysterious way. They do not know what they will receive. When you do service for a beetle, you are serving God. The beetle prays to God, and when you are helping him, you are helping God. A plant is praying to God, asking for moisture. By watering it, you have done it a service. This good deed you have done for God. The plants, too, will thank you. They feel things. Nothing is more beautiful than the work for God. Such activity is neither torment nor labor. The present social order is one of torment. You serve only when you love. The rest is by force. God has not created masters and servants, but human beings who should live in brotherhood. Masters and servants, this is a human idea. All people are brothers and sisters when they are in free and pure relationships. There is a saying, "The strong ones will put the world in order." But how? The strong need to serve the weak. In the home, everyone serves the child because it is weak. In the new society, it will be the same. The strong will serve the weak. Become servants to what? To love, to wisdom, to truth. Political life, which resorts predominantly to violence, will be replaced by cooperation and service. Someone is asking if this is possible without money. We have made money our master, and so we say that it is impossible to live without money. In the divine world, no payment exists for any service. Everyone there works for free. The day will come when money will go out of circulation. You will ask, how are people to live? As in heaven, should you go to heaven and offer money to someone, he will say, "Money is of no value here." He feels happy that he can give you something without money. And so, the spiritual life is the opposite of the earthly. The new culture signifies the descending of the spiritual life to the earth. Life of today is the result of wrongdoing. Above, in the spiritual world, there exists a life of ideal order. The social reforms which we are undertaking, other beings have had them already, and we are copying them. And yet we think that the social order which we are arranging comes from us. What exists in the spiritual world, exactly the same needs to be applied on earth as well. Moses saw the model of the tabernacle as it was in the divine world and made it exactly the same as it had been shown to him. Money is presently the motivational cause in the world because there is a lack of love. It will not be so in the future. After a concert, Paganini met a small girl who said to him, "I wanted very much to hear you, but not having the money for the ticket, I could not. I am sorry." Paganini went to the girl's home and gave a concert only for her. For her he played out of love. Another example, in the town he saw a poor old man playing the violin on the street. His little money bowl was empty. Paganini took his violin and began to play. Many people gathered around, and the little bowl filled with money. This is what it means to play out of love. Someone comes and asks you, "Do you want to work?" You will say, "We do not work for money. We will work for free." "I do not need money, but when I so desire, I can have some at my disposal." Someone will say, "Show me where the money is." But I say, "No, when you come to love God, you will have the keys to all cash boxes." Someone says, "Without money it is impossible." This is as true as when we say that a person who is ill cannot exist without a car. True. Yet the healthy one is able to do without a car. The ill cannot make do without money, but the healthy can. The law and money are presently ahead of love, but they must become love's servant. In raising a child until it is grown, a mother spends many sleepless nights giving it much care and sacrifices. Who is paying her? Is she doing this for money? Here you can see that she becomes a servant to love by making sacrifices in the name of love. Thus we have an example of service without money. Mothers serve without money. The divine order is not for everyone. There are people who need money in order to live, and others who will live without money. Some travel by buffalo wagon, whereas the one who flies on an airplane pays a higher price, but arrives sooner. From my point of view, the world will come to right when people understand that they must work selflessly, without money, and out of love. Such an order will exist in the future. This will be the most sacred thing in the world. The Slavs will need to set the example as to how money and personal interest should be replaced. The social problem. People need to study the laws of their bodies and draw from there the entire order and laws for society. Then systematic order will exist in the world. The following 3 things need to be taken into consideration. The first, in order that the laws of the material world may be examined, we need to study the laws of the digestive system. Secondly, in order that the laws of the spiritual world may be examined, we need to study the laws of the respiratory system. And thirdly, in order that the laws of the divine world may be examined, we need to study the laws of the brain. The stomach has millions of cells, which, when working ideally, are specialized and in harmony. Even the smallest nutrient will pass throughout the body to feed it. If one should pay 1 stotinka to each of these millions of cells, how much money would it cost? And at this point, the footnote explains sostinka, 1/100th of a leve, the basic unit of money in Bulgaria. Or what if one pays 1 leve or 10 leva or even 100 leva to them? Does anyone have so much money? Are we able to pay for the work of these cells? We are not, and so they work without being paid. The same thing will be applied in the physical world as well when the divine order comes. All will work as one of these millions of cells do, so that the whole world may function in one harmonious order. From the digestive system, everything is sent on to the respiratory. From the latter, everything is sent to the brain and throughout the entire body. In the future, all laws will be drawn from these 3 systems. Every work which you do needs to be related to the physical, the spiritual, and the divine world. This work should not be purely physical, but at the same time spiritual and divine as well. The Master about Bulgaria. The Master traveled extensively throughout Bulgaria. He studied the Bulgarians for many years. Over a span of 11 years, he conducted research and took phrenological measurements. The footnote here reads, reference to the period between 1901 and 1913, when the Master traveled around the country delivering lectures and performing phrenological studies. He studied the Bulgarians comprehensively. He was acquainted with their past and present, with their customs and character. He knew their positive sides as well as their negative. He understood the profound reasons wherefrom certain characteristics were acquired, under which conditions, and how they arose. Once the Master said, "The Bulgarian has 3 good characteristics. At first, the Thracian Bulgarians lived here, the ones who called themselves the Blagati people or the Blagari." The footnote here refers to Blagati and Blagari as translating as good people. They were good. From them, the Bulgarians have received the inclination for the mystical, the spiritual. Later came the Slavs, who occupied the Balkan Peninsula. From them, the Bulgarians have received the spirit of sacrifice, selflessness. Lastly came the Asparu, and the Asparu Bulgarians footnote reads, Asparu, a 7th century Khan of the Dulo dynasty, who in 680 AD established Bulgaria as a state of the alliance of Slavic tribes. From them they have received courage. The Master understood the soul of this nation and the divine which is instilled in it. He also understood the foreign elements which later infiltrated this nation. While studying the character of the Bulgarians, the Master searched for methods as to how to uplift it. He took many examples from the life of the Bulgarians, many images and types. He knew many anecdotes which characterized them and cited them often in his lectures and conversations. Once, when we were in the mountains, a question about the Bulgarian nation was raised. The Master said, "Until one comes to love a nation, he cannot know it. The Bulgarian government should offer a reward to the one who writes the best history on the origin of the Bulgarian nation. You have been sent to Bulgaria. The ground here is uncultivated, raw soil with couch grass. One must dig a half-meter in order to cultivate and seed it. If one wants to become tough and resilient, he can only learn that from the Bulgarians. He needs to live with them in order to learn steadfastness of the will." What is the essence of the Bulgarian? He is the toughest element which exists. The Bulgarian is distinguished by his great toughness, tenacity. Every human being who comes to earth has to pass through the Bulgarians in order to attain toughness, to get the stamp for toughness. The best seed which grows is the Bulgarian. The Bogomils had come here to attain this quality, toughness, so that they could better preach the divine teaching. It is good for the Bulgarian to be tough, but to be reasonably tough, that is to say, not for the ordinary ideas. For them he can yield. However, for the divine, he must be prepared to make sacrifices and not to be afraid, not even of death. A person who is afraid of death can achieve nothing. The Bulgarian is very natural and just as well. In general, the Slav is conscientious. The Bulgarian has many good qualities inherited from the past. For example, when he comes back from the vineyard, he carries a basket with grapes. From it he gives to the children and to everyone he meets. This basket is especially for passers-by. He does not touch the big basket, which is for the house. When he picks from the vineyard or the orchard, he does not strip it completely. He leaves some fruit or grapes for the passers-by, that they may pick some for themselves. That which is left is called the gleaning. The Bulgarian has one distinctive quality. He dislikes to be given orders. Leave him alone, he will do much more for you. The Bulgarian is hospitable. When I go to a Bulgarian home, they ask me what I wish them to cook for me. I say, some beans and some onions. They say, you do not want chicken? No. They feast well, and they ask repeatedly, why do you not eat this or that? They bring to the table the best which they have, the best watermelon, the best grapes when they like you. When you go and speak to the people, the Bulgarian wants to know if you work for money or without money. They ask me, are you measuring the head for pay? I say, without money. The Bulgarian believes a lot in the measuring of the head. He says, this man is measuring the head, the hand. He measured the head, the hand. He is very curious, the Bulgarian. I told one Bulgarian, your fortune depends on this horse of yours. Do not beat him. He believes, and begins to treat his horse or his oxen well. He becomes gentle with it. In the Bulgarian there is this feeling. He is always exaggerating things. He can never speak of things as they are. He must exaggerate. This feeling is developed in him. Should a few people gather, he will say, there was a crowd there. One could not count them. The good side of the Bulgarian is his gratitude. When we went for an outing in the Rhodope Mountains, in the Tsigov Chark, and at this point, the footnote reads, Tsigov Chark, a picturesque terrain in the Rhodope Mountains that is a contemporary resort. In the area of the town Batak, the son put us up in the sawmill. However, his father, a headstrong Bulgarian, did not even greet us. We were paying him, but he would not greet us. I said, fine. One day, while working with a saw, a wood chip flew off and went into his eye, which then became swollen. The son came and said to us, the eye of my father has become swollen. He clips here a tree, there a branch. If the Bulgarians could transform this destructive force into a creative one, they could become a great nation. The Bulgarian needs to come to an understanding of these dynamic forces which pass through him as a Bulgarian. The Bulgarians are a willful people. In them, the forehead, the nose, and the chin are equally developed. For this reason, they cannot be people of sentiments alone. The Bulgarian wants to express his love through action. He is good, intelligent. If the rulers would have only listened to the people, they would have made fewer mistakes. The Bulgarian can acclimate himself to all places. While in Bulgaria they are tenacious, but while abroad they become adaptable. This is a Slavic trait. The Bulgarians have the most favorable conditions at present. The invisible world is helping them. By their nature, they are pessimists. Within them, hope is poorly developed. With regards to religion, one can find within the Bulgarian many false beliefs from the viewpoint of divine philosophy. This is to say, the Bulgarian is every human being who searches for and finds his master, that he may apply his teaching and show his nation and his neighbor how to live. Are you asking, am I a Bulgarian? I say, if you understand me, you are a Bulgarian. If you do not understand me, you are not a Bulgarian. Two kinds of Bulgarians exist, those of the flesh and those of the spirit. Those of the flesh are many, whereas those of the spirit few. The Bulgarians of the flesh have no right to have a country, but thanks to those Bulgarians of the spirit, the Bulgarians have a right to statehood. The real Bulgarian is the one who has goodness, righteousness, beauty, and sentience, goodness of the heart, righteousness of the mind, beauty of the soul, and sentience as well. The Bulgarians need to learn to rely on God alone. What is the reason for the bondage of the Bulgarians under the Turks? The reason lies in the relationship of the Bulgarians toward God, that is to say, the breach of their relationship to God. As with the Jews, When they severed their relationship with God, adversity followed. All suffering of the nations comes from impure thoughts, desires, and actions. The Bulgarians were under Turkish bondage for 500 years as a punishment for the persecution of the Bogomils. One brother requested, "Tell us something about the mission of the Bulgarians in the future." When the time comes, they will see. Bulgaria will never be a big country. This is so destined. The Bulgarians need to be notable for something else, and not for their success in war. The rulers of Bulgaria have committed many crimes in other lands, and in Bulgaria itself as well. These people have a book gives detailed biographical information on these Bulgarian statesmen. One brother asked, "Are there any people of this kind existing in Bulgaria today?" There are, but they cannot be found. Let them be searched for, just as the farmer searches for grain in the barn in order to seed the field. If they are searched for, they will be found. What is it that a Bulgarian can be proud of? That there is nobility within him. What has he contributed to the world? The Bulgarians did something for the world through the Bogomils. What the Bulgarians have brought forth is the principle of freedom. One brother asked, "Master, why was Bulgaria previously chosen as a center for the Bogomil movement, and now again the movement of the Great Brotherhood of Light comes from Bulgaria?" Because Bulgaria has many mountains. From the Rila Massif comes down a mighty divine stream. Those who are close to this massif will naturally have good conditions for upliftment because they are under a beneficial influence. The Bulgarians have existed in prehistoric times. A child can change his name 3, 4 times, can he not? However, the name does not change the person. The conscious powers of nature, the Brotherhood of Light, have been preparing the Bulgarians for 5,400 years for the present times. Now they are helping Bulgaria. It is because Bulgaria is in its golden century, none can cause it harm. There is none who can take away the good, the beneficial conditions in which Bulgaria finds herself. This keeps the Bulgarians safe during the present events. If these events had taken place in a different epoch, it would have been difficult for the Bulgarians to cope with them. Be thankful that God's mercy has not abandoned you. The conditions for Bulgaria are very favorable at present. 90% of the divine teaching. The Bulgarians are of interest to me insofar as they fulfill the will of God, that they serve God. If they were not being helped, the Bulgarians could not save themselves. They are in such trouble that only the divine can redeem them. All which is wise in the Bulgarians needs to be brought out. The Bulgarians need to visit the well springs. The well springs will not come to them of their own accord. You yourselves should search for the wellspring from where the water flows. One brother asked, "Should we understand by these words that the Bulgarians need to search for the new which has been given through the Brotherhood of Light, which is now in Bulgaria?" I especially turn my attention to the Bulgarians to warn them that a great thrashing is awaiting them. The whip has been prepared, not a human, but a divine one. This whip will be used on the backs of the Bulgarians for as long as it is needed, until their minds grow, until they submit to the will of God and say, "We will put our hearts and minds in unity with the great divine will." If Bulgaria accepts the new teaching, she will be given everything which is needed. If she does not accept it, nothing will be given to her. Christ preached to the Jews 2,000 years ago, but they did not accept that teaching. As one can see, 2,000 years have passed, and they still continue to wander the world without a homeland. At this point, the footnote reads, in the lecture The Divided Kingdom held in 1918, Beinsa Duno said that Jews will be placed again in the old land, but their kingdom will be small. Israel was established in 1948. Do the Bulgarians think that if they do not accept the new teaching, a better future awaits them? If the Bulgarian nation does not accept the new teaching, something terrible is in store for her. Wherever you pass, the trees and the flowers will smile at you. The fruits will offer themselves to you. Young maidens and lads will meet you with joy and cheer. All of them will be well dressed and adorned. Now I myself search for those people in Bulgaria who are of the true culture, within whom I may implant something new. Among the Bulgarians, I have found sufficiently intelligent people. Bulgaria is full of maidens and lads who will unite for a great work. The most favorable conditions are in store for the Bulgarians. Turn to God, to His great kingdom. As Bulgarians, it is expected of you to be heroic. The English people excel with their honesty, the Germans with diligence, the Slavs with self-sacrifice. For you Bulgarians as well, I desire that you would have self-sacrifice as your emblem. Only then will you understand the meaning of life. I bring favorable conditions to the Bulgarians. If I did not intercede for them with a sentient and conscious world, they would have become completely lost. The invisible world wants to save them now. The present epoch has a great importance for Bulgaria. If Bulgaria does not now accept the ideas which I teach, if she misses the favorable conditions which are given to her, then they will disregard her, and she will not have the same conditions for upliftment for at least 2,000 years at best, or under the worst conditions, after 15,000 years at the least. In a short while, 4,444 Bulgarians will enter into the sacred fire of love. Do you know how Bulgaria will look when they enter? After that, a door will open, and others will enter. After them, still more. The Bulgarians who enter through this door will gain something special. Whoever is childlike within himself, it represents that purity which is necessary for one's health. Whatever knowledge you may acquire, try not to lose the childlike nature of your character. In comparison to the great knowledge, your knowledge is still in its swaddling clothes. The form of the adult is like the suit of a diver. People should abandon the diving suit. We have become adults because we are wearing the mask of our grand and great-grandparents. The first condition for rejuvenation is to have a connection with God. It has been said, "But those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength." The footnote here reads, see Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. This is the meaning of eternal rejuvenation. Should a man want to rejuvenate, he needs to have for his love such an object which does not age. The one who contemplates upon God rejuvenates. Many have begun to age because of the lack of love, because they do not think and feel correctly. Nothing else is left for them but to wait for their death. However, this is not life. This is premature death. They have aged because of the lack of love. I have come to rejuvenate you. Love makes life worth living and rejuvenates us. Error brings premature old age. Can I rejuvenate an empty, wrinkled bagpipe? When I blow air into the bagpipe, it becomes inflated. The bagpipe is rejuvenated through the air. What the air represents for the bagpipe, the same is the thought for man. Man can rejuvenate through his thoughts. The sublime thought sacrifices himself, remains eternally alive and growing. Love implies two things, selflessness and consciousness. The one who has divine love is the most powerful and the most conscious. One law states, Either you shall renounce yourself, or you will be forced to renounce yourself. Either you will sacrifice yourself, or you will be forced to make sacrifices. Serving stands higher than learning, because the one who serves has knowledge, whereas the one who learns is just now attaining knowledge. When you receive a blessing, deposit it in the divine bank. If you carry it with you, you will be robbed. The astral world is filled with thieves who steal. Do not think that when someone is good, that this has been achieved in one lifetime only. Not so. For millions of years he has been worked upon in order that he may become good and that he may cultivate within himself charity, service, humility, and other virtues. Do not think that if someone sees a compassionate person and has the desire to become like him, that this can happen all at once. Very little is achievable in one lifetime. Many of you tell me, "I do not know what to do. Things do not go well with me." If I were in your place, I would find 2 beautiful earthen jugs. I would then go out where people take strolls and would treat them to water. And as you befriend these people, things will begin to work well for you. We need to begin with the small things in the world. The one who waters a flower is able to turn to God. He has a good heart. He is a kind man. He is on the right course. From my point of view, between the walnut as a fruit and the walnut as a tree, the tree has manifested itself, whereas the walnut has not yet revealed its endowments. Such is the condition of the animals. They have not yet manifested themselves in comparison to man. One brother asked, "What can be said about the factors of evolution?" Some accept mainly the external factors, natural selection, the struggle for existence, and so on. Another brother said, "According to the spiritualists, internal evolutionary factors exist as well." The master said, "The contradiction originates in the following. Some look only at the external manifestation of nature, whereas others only at the internal. When we look at both the external and internal manifestations, we will come to the correct understanding. The selection itself, which exists in nature, is guided by the sentient powers. The sentient powers guide the direction of evolution. The biomechanical approach wants to explain the phenomena in a mechanical way, saying that only the external conditions, the external factors, have acted in the evolutionary process. However, divine science states that this process is guided by the sentient powers of nature, so that internal factors exist as well. Consciousness exists in all of the kingdoms of nature. In the realm of the minerals, we have the lowest degree of the subconscious. When you crack a stone into pieces, within its subconscious, it experiences a certain pleasure, because for the stone, this is its path for liberation. We think that animals lack intelligence. Why are the birds of paradise so beautiful? The birds have learned the art of coloring their clothes in a natural way. They have knowledge. Water it, and your fair disposition will return. I have said that the sorrow of the flowers is in their fragrance. However, this is in an earthly language. In reality, their fragrance is the most beautiful language of the flowers. This is how they speak. I sit around a beehive and notice that more bees fly out, but fewer come back. This indicates that there will be a weather change, even though at the moment the weather is good. I count how many bees fly in and how many fly out within a 10-minute period and make my conclusions. The bees are good meteorologists. The cat is an excellent barometer. When the stove is kindled, and if the cat turns her back toward it, this means that the weather will worsen. Cold weather is coming, even though at the moment it is beautiful. Even by its distance from the stove, one can discern the degree of the cooling which is coming. The spiders, as well, have knowledge of the weather. When the weather is going to be good, the spider positions himself in the center of the web. And when it changes for the worse, he hides himself away someplace. I have experimented with plants as well as with animals. There are some very stubborn spiders. I look at a spider in the room that has caught a fly. I say to him, "Let the fly go." The spider says, "I have waited for such a long time. I caught this fly, and I do not want to let it go." And so, I read the spider's thoughts. I say to him, "Let the fly go, otherwise you will fly out of the room." Some spiders, when they perceive my thoughts, agree. Yet another one is stubborn and says, "You are not God. Who are you?" I say to him, "I am a spider like you, but much bigger." Karakacharni is a nomadic clan of the Rhodope Mountains who are known for raising Karakul sheep. Their whole herd dashed at me. The shepherd was afraid that the herd would follow me. I had to reassure him. I said to him, "Your sheep are very smart. They are of a good breed." The sheep told me, "How much longer are we to suffer? How much longer are they going to take away our lambs, our hides? How long are we to endure all this?" I said to them something. After that, the sheep calmed down and continued to graze meekly. One brother asked, "What did you tell them?" The master was silent for a while. After that, he continued, "The animals perceive human thought. You can make experiments. One winter day, in the vicinity of the town of Varna, I saw a big flock, hundreds of ducks, coming. I sent to them the thought to fly far out to the sea, and they went. After half an hour, I said to them, 'There is something good to eat on the shore. Come.' And they came to the shore. All minerals, plants, and animals are schools through which the human spirit has passed and learned. These schools we call worms, birds, mammals, and so on. Every human being is a sacred book in which God has written many things. Do you know the history of this book? Do you remember the time when you passed through the mineral kingdom? Upon the minerals is written the names of the evolved beings, the seraphim and cherubim. Do you remember the time when you have passed through the animal kingdom? Another group's life from the hierarchy of angels is written there. The new sixth generation, one of love, that they may come to know one another and work together. I ask, could the Bulgarians be a contingent of such people? Yes, they can. If the Bulgarians do not send their representatives there, they will be its servants. Those nations that send their representatives to this nucleus will have their names inscribed upon this great kingdom. Those who do not will see their names erased. The scriptures stated thousands of years ago, quote, "Those nations that do not serve God have no future," unquote. A glorious moment is coming for which you need to prepare. Be glad for your future and what is awaiting you. Everywhere, in all nations, there are people present of the new epoch. You can encounter representatives of that group as an intelligent child, as a young person with a noble character, or as an elderly person. One sister asked, "Are we going to see them?" The master replied, "You have seen them. It is said in the scriptures, 'All nations will come together and the name of God will be glorified.' From the 12 tribes of Israel, one understands that humankind will be united. The 12 tribes are the 12 symbols of the zodiac, the 12 qualities of humankind. People have small ideas. The Bulgarians wish for a great Bulgaria, the Serbs for a great Serbia. All wish to be great. In the kingdom of God, all nations will be united. By the kingdom of God, one should understand the people of love. They will live as brothers. All nations will be represented in one unity. Those who do not understand the prophecies are worried about the future. Read chapter 60 from Isaiah. This chapter is about the coming of the new epoch. In Jude, chapter 1, verses 14 through 15, it is written, quote, "Behold, the Lord comes with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment on all, to convict all who are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds." Unquote. This is about an epoch whose beginning is now. Until now, the good has been cultivated in the greenhouse, and yet, when the kingdom of God comes, all flowers will leave the greenhouse. Natural growing conditions will exist for them. From the invisible world, advanced beings, people of the sublime love, or the so-called forerunners of humankind, are coming. These are workers who are coming from above. When they find souls ready to work, they will incarnate in them and act through them. New ideas are coming into this world. They will clash with the old ones. Why? It is because the old refuses to give up its realm. The new will reform the world radically. The old systems will be replaced with new ones. Those who accept these new ideas will be transformed. Their face will become illuminated and will take on a new expression. We are in a transitional epoch. We will all pass into the new epoch and will live in a new way. The old forms have become obsolete. The old life has no more material for work. The time has come for all people to raise their consciousness a step upward and give way to the divine power. The human being of the new epoch. Each distinct ethnic group of people throughout our civilization is characterized by certain qualities. Black people are notable for their imagination and strong feelings. The native peoples of the Americas for their ability to apply geometry and mathematics. Asians are notable for their objective mind, and Caucasians for their rationality. Ever since they have been on Earth, they have been measuring and exploring things with precision. The new human being expected to develop in the future has all the good qualities of the preceding stages. In this regard, it represents the essential synthesis of the human virtues. While living on Earth, one passes through all preceding stages of human development. As cautious as one might be, one nevertheless passes through these preceding stages, and if people are wise, they learn from this process. The new epoch is one of justice and of the kingdom of God. This epoch is already coming, and then the kingdom of God, on a small scale, will be established on earth. A brother asked, "Master, is not justice inferior when compared to the kingdom of God? Because according to the human law of justice, whoever works less earns less, whereas according to the higher spiritual law, everyone must receive in compliance with their needs." The Master replied, "The kingdom of God, it is the same as justice. I have in mind the divine justice. The culture of the mind creates the external forms. The new 6th generation will impart content to these forms. Each epoch has its own contribution. The one that follows, the epoch of love, will offer the most. It will be represented by sublime luminous souls. It will bring the new culture to earth. The ideas of the new 6th epoch are like the air. They already permeate all. The Slavs will give an impulse to the new epoch. After the events happening now, the people of love will become active in life. It will begin to take leadership. Many more representatives of the new epoch will be present on Earth than at the moment. They will give a new direction to the culture. The Slavic people will serve as the base for the engraftment of the new, 6th generation, one of love. One brother asked, "Is there a possibility that representatives of the new epoch will appear in Bulgaria?" The master answered, "Yes, the conditions exist. For several thousand years, Bulgaria has been worked upon for this purpose. The people of the new epoch will give order to the world. It will take up leadership in its hands. The divine within man puts to sleep the base animal nature within him. For thousands of years, the divine has been lulling it to sleep in a manner similar to lulling a snake to sleep. The people of love will be in charge, and the rest will execute their orders. The learned ones who will come will put order and structure into the world. These are the people of the future. The awakened people from all nations will form the new 6th generation of love. Slowly but surely you are advancing toward the new epoch. It is in store for you to meet with the luminous souls who love you. Do not waver and do not doubt. In the new epoch, each and every one will be aware that others have the same rights and privileges as he does. It is said in the scriptures, "If you are not born again," these words imply the new 6th epoch. The rebirth discussed in Christianity refers to the entering into the new 6th epoch, and repentance, conversion, and so on are the preparation for it. Those born again are already of the 6th generation. Within it, death will exist no more. When the time comes to depart, one will dematerialize, will become invisible. Cemeteries will no longer exist. They will exist only for the rest of the people, but not for the people of love. At present, 4 epochs exist simultaneously. This will be the case with the 6th generation too. We are only paving the way for love, for the 6th epoch. The people of love will be different. The mention of the first resurrection in the scriptures is meant for them. The manifestation of love in humankind is the first resurrection. The 6th epoch brings positive beauty. The people of love will have very proportional features. They will be beautiful. They will be inspired by the high ideal within themselves, which will make them beautiful. They will be a much more beautiful people than you have seen until now. The facial angle of the European is 80 degrees. In the dog, it is 35 degrees. In the human being of the new 6th generation, it will be 90 degrees. Rarely have I seen really beautiful people. The brows of the people of the new epoch will be straighter. They will be curved very little, indicating that they are a part of a very large circle. The color of these people will be radiant, like someone illuminated by the sun. Light will emanate from their faces as if they were radiating. At night there will be no need for lamps. Wherever these people go, there will be light, because human beings will radiate light. Their eyes will see at a distance. They will see also in the dark. When you look at a person from a distance, you do not know who he is. Yet a member of the new 6th generation will see the details from far away. We need to acquire that quality of light, selflessness, and that quality of water, suppleness. What the light has accomplished in illuminating space, you should do as well. And what the water has done in purifying things, you should do as well. The human beings of the new epoch are already created. They exist. They have been here for thousands of years, but are kept under guard. They are hidden. They are not shown to everyone. Nature exists as a closed book. The one who knows how to open it can read from it. Many look at this closed book only from without, only at its cover. With the coming of the new epoch, humankind will enter paradise and will depart from error. In the future, one will remember his past incarnations. It will be pleasing for him to remember them, but he will feel that he has departed from his old state, like the butterfly which previously had been a caterpillar. The human being of the new epoch will be musical. When he visits people who are not well, just by singing or playing an instrument to them, the ill will regain their health. The Slavic Nation. After the air raids, we went with the Master to the mountain for a few days. There it was isolated and uninhabited. Down in the valley, the city of Sofia lay destroyed, burned down and deserted. It was very windy, cold, and damp. Heavy clouds were moving above the mountain peaks. From time to time, the sun was seen between the clouds. The sun peeked through, and blessed warm rays came upon us. One could feel the freshness and vitality of the pristine life. Every color, every breath, every movement, every form was filled with this life. The mountain was a shrine. Man has lost his ability to talk to God, but even now, man can find again the lost paradise. We were seated around the Master on the soft, fleecy rug of grass and were talking. The clouds withdrew, and the sun shone over the meadows. A question about the Slavic nation arose. The Master said, "The Western nations have reached the height of their development. They have blossomed and have come to fruition. The Slavic people will blossom from now on and give fruit. It is wrong to think that the Slavic nations need to dominate, to command other nations. The opposite is true. They will be the sphere in which the positive features of other nations will manifest. The Slavic people will bring something new. They come now to create the new culture. In a sense, they are now the spiritual Israel." It is interesting to compare Russia and Palestine. The Caspian Sea in the Slavic region is a closed sea. There is an analogy between this sea and the Dead Sea in Palestine. The Volga flows into the Caspian Sea, and the Jordan River into the Dead Sea. The Volga is the counterpart of the Jordan River. The Volga is a big river, and the Jordan a small one. The Dead Sea is 25 meters under sea level, and the Caspian Sea is also under sea level. The difference is that there is no life in the Dead Sea, whereas the Caspian Sea is full of life. The rivers from the Slavic region flow into the Arctic Ocean, the Black Sea, the Mediterranean Sea, and other seas. In Palestine, no river flows into an open sea. Therefore, the Slavs carry the Jewish culture to some extent, but there is a difference as well. The back of the head of the Slavs is developed. This means that they possess strong family ties and a tendency for a settled life. The Slavic nation needs to overcome the Tartar influence in them, the influence of the race of Atlantis. The Tartar influence is manifested in extreme materialism. In general, Western people have a developed intellect. In the Latin people, the feelings and heart are developed. The Slavic people now carry the power of the soul, love. They are the people of love for humankind. They carry the culture of brotherhood. Among all the Slavic nations, Bulgaria represents the will. Therefore, it is like a central point in which the two forces, mind and love, need to become balanced. God wants the Slavs to fulfill a mission. Through the Slavs, a sense of the new, of generosity, needs to be introduced. Generosity is a Slavic quality. No other people are as generous as the Slavs. One of the great characteristics of the Slavic nation is self-sacrifice. In the Slavs, the spirit of sacrifice is working. Therefore, the future is in the Slavic nations. The new culture will be born out of the Slavs. A beautiful quality of the Slavic nations is altruism. This is the divine cause within them. Until now, such a density of people as the Slavs, ready for the new culture, has not existed. The Slavic nations are the bearers of the divine idea. In the Slavic consciousness, There is something sublime, the love for God. God is passing the Slavs through fire. There are no other people in the world who have gone through such suffering as the Slavs. God says, "From you, something good must come." It is determined that the Slavs, as one great family, need to fulfill God's will. In this lies the greatness of their mission. Until the end of the 20th century, many advanced beings, the brothers of love, the ancestors of humankind, will incarnate into the Slavic nations. They will bring a great spiritual upliftment. Yet they are not only the vanguards, they are the main forces. The changes which are happening now in Russia are due to the actions of these advanced beings. These beings, who are now coming into the Slavic nations, are bringing the Slavs unification and are working for their mission. Scattered throughout different places in Russia, there are people who are working for the divine science. These are the initiates, the divine messengers. In Russia, new forms of life for the future are developing. Russia is the creative field for these forms. It is interesting that America and Russia are connected in the north. This means that they will come to an understanding through the truth, that is to say, by being free. England and Russia can have agreement in the name of divine justice. The Slavic nations are a living tree into which England, Germany, America, and France will be grafted. They are the four teachers of the Slavic nations. And the sixth race will be the fruit of this grafted tree. This fruit will combine all the positive features of these nations. In the Russians, the nose is childlike, but it is blessed. It is written, "Assuredly, I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven." The footnote here reads, see Matthew chapter 18, verse 3. The Slavic people have already passed through their period of terrible frost and are now rising. Russia and the Slavic nations are now out of the cold black zone, out of the dark age. The Slavic nations now have the potential to take their place in the world. Bulgarians are the pioneers among the Slavs. The Latin people have given the forms, and the Slavic people will give the content. We call the Slavs the sunny people. Some call them coarse. The coarseness comes from the sun, because within the sun's energy there is abundant light and warmth, and from this energy everything is alive, the animals and the plants. The Asian, the Eastern nations have great confidence in the Slavic nations. The Slavs will introduce these nations into what they need, the divine order. The Slavs will be united. They will be the bridge between Europe and Asia. All Slavic people need to unite into one. After the unification of the Slavs, the whole world will unite. The future race of love will unite all. The Slavs will introduce a spiritual element into the world that we may become as brothers. Their mission is the unification of all nations. The New Order. A new order is coming into the world. When you return to the earth after several thousand years, you will verify what I am telling you now. The houses will not be constructed as they are now, but will be built several kilometers away from one another. The animals will be given rest from the people. To the artists, musicians, and other people of the arts, the best conditions for work will exist. This will be accomplished by the sixth race. The inner wealth, the knowledge which a person possesses, will be available to all. Now you are provided with air, light, and water. One day the bread also will be given to you like the air, the water, and the light. In the sixth race, people will have bread in abundance. Everyone will have a home, a garden, and fruit trees. When you pass through a place that is new to you, you will be asked from all sides to come in for a visit. In the new order, Everything old will disappear, and all things will be completely new. The fruits also, pears, apples, plums, and so on, will change. They will be different. At the present time, the lemon tree blossoms, and its fruit ripens throughout the whole year. In the future, this will be the same with the apples as well. The culture will be smokeless. Everything will be done by electricity. What we desire exists. There are beings who have this. They live this. The angels live in such a culture, the kind in which we will live after thousands of years. After thousands of years, we will live in the angelic culture. Everything in the world is real. Everything exists already, but it descends from above downward. The angelic culture descends to the human culture, and the human culture descends to that of the animals, and so on. Thus, a culture descends from above. Someone may say, "When we are perfect, what will we do?" We will then begin to truly live.